Welcome to NFL Nexus, where we really get into the nuts and bolts of the game. Today, we're talking about the New York Giants, a team that is right at a tipping point. They've got a new superstar coach, a young quarterback that everyone seems to be arguing about, and a clear mandate for change. Their 2026 offseason isn't just going to be important, it could honestly define their entire next decade. So today, we are drawing up the blueprint for this brand new era.
Think about it. After a total roller coaster of a rookie season for their young guy under center and a massive midseason coaching change, the Giants are standing at a major crossroads. And that leads us to the big question we're going to be diving into today. Is the rest of the league, are all the analysts completely sleeping on what's being built in New York? We think there's a really strong case to be made that they absolutely are. If you want to see the full breakdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button for NFL Nexus and give this video a like. It honestly helps us out a ton. All right, let's get into it.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We've got it in 5 parts. We're going to kick things off with the controversy around Jaxson Dart's recent ranking, and then we're going to make the case for why he's so much better than that number suggests. After that, we'll look at the massive impact of their new coach, break down their big free agency puzzle, and then finally explore what it all means for the future of Big Blue.
Okay, so let's really set the stage here. The 2025 season was, to put it lightly, a wild ride for the Giants. You've got a rookie quarterback in Jaxson Dart who, showed these incredible flashes of brilliance, but ended up with a statistically, modest season. Then you have a mid-season coaching change that completely rocked the organization. And through it all, you have a franchise that is absolutely desperate to forge a new, winning identity. I mean, this is the very definition of a team at a crossroads.
And this is where the entire debate really catches fire. In a recent, pretty comprehensive ranking over on NFL.com of all 62 quarterbacks who started at least one game last season, the Giants rookie Jaxson Dart landed right here at a very underwhelming number 23. Now, for a guy who is a first-round pick, a number like that is absolutely going to raise some eyebrows and, you better believe, start some serious arguments.
See, the controversy isn't just his kind of middle-of-the-road placement. It's about who he was ranked behind. The list actually put him below Carolina's second-year quarterback Bryce Young, and maybe even more contentiously, below a fellow rookie Tyler Shough of the Saints. Now that specific comparison is what sparked a total firestorm of debate about how fair this ranking really was. Because if you just look at the surface, it seems to completely ignore the vastly different situations each of those quarterbacks had to deal with.
So, here's the crucial point. Does that number 23 ranking really, and I mean really, tell the whole story of Jaxson Dart's rookie year? We are here to argue that it doesn't, not by a long shot. So let's move on to the evidence and see why there's a very strong case to be made that the league is sleeping on the Giants' young quarterback. All right, so at first glance, you look at the box score, and the numbers, they look perfectly respectable for a rookie, right? But they don't exactly jump off the page at you. A 63.7% completion rate, that's solid, but look closer. Check out that touchdown to interception ratio. 15 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. That is fantastic. I mean, that shows a young player who, above all else, protected the football. And that is a trait that coaches absolutely love. But the number that's really holding him back in these kinds of rankings is the passing yardage. The real compelling story of a season is found when you dig deeper into the how and the why behind all these numbers. And this right here, this is the statistical foundation for that number 23 ranking. The critics will point to this slide and say, see, case closed. Dart's 162.3 passing yards per game were, yes, significantly lower than both Shuggin's and Young's. And you know what? If you stop the analysis right here, you'd probably agree with the ranking. But this single statistic is a classic example of numbers without context because it completely ignores a massive, game-changing part of Jaxson Dart's skill set.
And boom, this is where Dart's true value just pops off the screen. When the passing game was compromised, what did he do? He adapted. His 487 rushing yards weren't just a nice little bonus, they were a central, vital part of the offense. In fact, he rushed for more yards than Tyler Shough and Bryce Young put together, combined. You add in 9 rushing touchdowns on top of that, and you start to see a player who just found ways to produce points and move the chains even when the primary game plan completely broke down. He wasn't just a quarterback, he was a true dual-threat weapon.
And beyond his own production, you absolutely have to consider the incredible challenges he was facing. Let's not just glance over these, let's give each one the weight it really deserves. First off, he lost his number 1 weapon, his fellow rookie Malik Nabers, to a season-ending ACL tear. That's not just losing a receiver, that's losing the offense's main deep threat, which just collapses coverage on everyone else and makes every single route harder to complete. Second, the team fired head coach Brian Daboll in the middle of the season. For a rookie quarterback, that's like being forced to learn a whole new language halfway through the school year. You've got new plays, new terminology, new leadership. It creates massive instability. Third, his receivers were not helping him out. Darius Slayton and Theo Johnson combined for 13 drive-killing drops. And finally, just look at the schedule. It was absolutely brutal, including a 6-game stretch against nothing but playoff teams. To put it simply, this was a quarterback fighting an uphill battle every single week, which honestly makes what he did accomplish even more impressive.
Okay, now let's pivot. Let's go from the young quarterback to the new architect of the entire franchise. After that mid-season firing of Brian Daboll, the Giants went out and made one of the biggest splashes you can possibly imagine, hiring future Hall of Fame coach John Harbaugh away from the Baltimore Ravens. Folks, this is not just swapping one headset for another. This is a seismic shift in the entire philosophy of the organization. And make no mistake about it, this is a fundamental culture shift. You do not bring in a guy like John Harbaugh to just maintain the status quo. His track record is, well, it's astounding. 12 trips to the postseason in 18 seasons proves that he knows the formula for building not just a team that can get hot for 1 year, but a consistent, long-term winner. He establishes a program, a way of doing things that can withstand player turnover and coaching changes. That is exactly what the New York Giants are desperate for.
And this quote right here, this is the new mission statement. Read those words again. Carefully. Physical, tough, overwhelming. This signals a complete and total identity change. The Giants are moving toward a philosophy that is built on grit and discipline, and it starts in the trenches. This is the kind of football that wins games in January. It means a renewed focus on running the ball, on stopping the run, and on just imposing your will on your opponent for 4 straight quarters. And hey, just a quick note before we move on. If you're looking for a really fun way to share your love of the game, we've actually created some pretty awesome NFL-themed coloring books that are perfect for fans of all ages. Kids, grandkids, even adults. You can check them out by scanning the QR code right there on your screen or by using the link down in the description. Every single purchase helps us keep making deep dives just like this one, and we really appreciate the support.
Okay, so you have the promising young quarterback. You've got the Hall of Fame coach with a clear, tough-minded vision. The next logical question is, how do you actually build the team around them? So let's move on to the off-season strategy, because this is where it turns into a real high-stakes chess match. This right here, this is where the real groundwork for the 2026 season gets laid. For General Manager Jaxson, this is a super high-pressure period. He's got to have a precise plan, but he's also dealing with limited salary cap space. And what that means is he can't just go out and buy a whole new roster. Every single dollar has to be spent wisely, and that forces some really tough decisions on which players to go after and which of their own guys to let walk away.
So the Giants front office is facing this classic dilemma. On one side, you've got players from the Ravens who already know John Harbaugh's system inside and out. These guys can basically act as coaches on the field, which really accelerates that culture change. But on the other side, you've got key contributors from last year's team who are due for new contracts. So let's just play GM for a second. If you go after a star like center Tyler Linderbaum, that probably means you can't afford to re-sign both your lineman, Jermaine Elamooner, and your receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson. So the choice becomes, do you spend big on a brand new anchor for that offensive line, or do you keep 2 solid, known contributors? Believe me, there is no easy answer to that.
Now, if the Giants really want to make a statement about Harbaugh's physical and tough philosophy, this is the move you make. Tyler Linderbaum is one of the best young centers in the entire league. Signing him would immediately signal that this new identity starts exactly where it should, in the trenches. A great center does so much more than just block. They're making the protection calls, they communicate across the whole line, and they provide that anchor that allows the entire run game and pass game to function.
But listen, it is not just about the offense. John Harbaugh's success was always built on a strong, disciplined, hard-hitting defense. So it makes all the sense in the world that he would want to bring in some trusted veterans to help install that system. Guys like safety Alohi Gilman and lineman Draymond Jones. They aren't just talented players, they are scheme-familiar veterans who provide instant stability and leadership. They're the ones who come in and set the standard for the rest of the defense.
So, we've broken down the underrated quarterback, the new Hall of Fame coach, and the super complex offseason strategy. So what does this all mean? What is the actual, tangible path for the New York Giants to get back to being contenders in 2026 and for the years to come?
Well, the blueprint for success is pretty clear, but actually executing it, that's the challenging part. Step 1.
The coaching staff has to design an offense that fully unleashes Dart's dual-threat ability. I'm talking RPOs, designed QB runs, heavy play action, anything to keep defenses on their heels. Step 2. Harbaugh's culture of toughness has to take root immediately, and that's established through a demanding training camp and having zero tolerance for mental errors. Step 3. The front office has to be masterful in free agency, finding those undervalued players who are just perfect fits for the new system. And that all leads to Step 4. Doing all of this while navigating the constraints of a really tight salary cap. The path is clear, but it is not going to be easy.
And that brings us to the ultimate question that we're going to leave you with. All the pieces, they really do seem to be falling into place. You have a young quarterback who showed incredible resilience and has a much higher ceiling than a lot of people believe. You've got a proven Super Bowl winning coach who's establishing a brand new tough identity. But the NFC is an absolute gauntlet, and turning an entire franchise around is never a simple task.
But now we really want to hear your take. What do you think is the single most important move the Giants have to make this offseason to turn this blueprint into a reality? Let us know what you think down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this explainer from NFL Nexus. If you enjoyed the breakdown, don't forget to subscribe for more. We'll see you next time.